All right, let us grab TikTok.
I personally don't see any.
We will grab the TikTok. All right. And let's go live. Knowing your rights. I worked my butt off on the Bill of Rights stuff I released today, so I hope you guys enjoy it, because that was a big project. All right. It was a big old project. All right, let's grab TikTok. 2, 1. Good morning, TikTok. It is a beautiful day here in the sunny south. I could hear the birds making all types of noise. The bugs are loud as ever, and nature is alive. And is there any better way to educate children, the next generation, than in nature, in touch with what is real, with what matters? And speaking of what matters, hey Melissa, today we are going to talk about teaching our children their rights. And if we have learned anything over the last 3 years, it is that we have a responsibility, we have a duty to make sure that we know our rights so that when the powers that be attempt to violate them, and they inevitably will, we learned that the last 3 years, right? We have a standing, we have our feet on solid ground, hey Jen, so that we know how to defend our God-given liberty. But we can only do that if we study it. And as homeschool parents, we have a monumental advantage in that we can really bear down and teach our children their rights. Because when you think about what's happening in public schools, yeah, sure, they'll go over the Bill of Rights, they'll go over the Constitution, they'll tell your children that it's a living, breathing document, that it's antiquated, they'll teach your children that the founding fathers were these terrible people, right? But they won't give them any context, they won't give them any perspective. They'll point out the negative side, for example, of Thomas Jefferson's life. Meanwhile, if you study Thomas Jefferson the man, he was such a harbinger of human liberty based on the time he had come from, where he had come from. I mean, he didn't just write the Declaration of Independence. He wasn't just the driving force behind the Bill of Rights and the reason we have freedom of speech and freedom of religion encoded into American law. But he actually went to France during the French Revolution, and he wrote or assisted in the writing of the Declaration of the Rights of Man. What a harbinger of human liberty. When he, in his personal writings, when he talked about the Native American populations, when he talked about the captive populations, I'll say, because I want to talk around the monitors that be, if you know what I'm talking about. But when he talks about the dark side of early American history, and, you know, he openly advocated for the ending. He advocated for emancipation, and he advocated for Native Americans having the same rights. And in fact, what they don't tell you is that what most people don't know is that Thomas Jefferson signed the bill that prohibited new people from Africa being brought over to the United States. So he actually stopped that practice, and he wanted to abolish the practice altogether, even in the mainland, but he was not, he didn't have the political backing to do it. And, you know, people can say what they want. People see how hard it is to make change in modern American politics, right? Everything is gridlocked. Well, when you look at the change that this man facilitated over the course of his life, it truly is remarkable considering how difficult it is to get things done on a political level. And of course, he was aided by a revolution that he openly advocated for. Anyway, really cool historical figure. But the point is that we as parents now have the ability to teach children their rights. And one of the ways we can do that is through, well, I taught a course on it, but another way to do that is something I released today, something you could all do, whether you're a part of my community or not, is take the Bill of Rights, take the first 10 amendments, and go over one amendment a month. It could be the 1st of every month, the 15th of every month, the 20th of every month, but you take the Bill of Rights and you go over one amendment a month for the entire year, or for 10 months, right? So this month you do the First Amendment, next month you do the Second Amendment, the month after that you do the Third Amendment, and you simply go over, and it's a fun assignment for kids because it's really not that comprehensive, right? You're talking about one paragraph or one sentence, really, right? The Second Amendment, you're talking about 2 sentences. But you go over, for example, this month, the First Amendment, and you really focus on the language and you talk to your children about these things. And if you do that once a month, it stays fresh in their mind. You're getting them to think critically about their rights, and you're getting them to think about what the document means and where their rights come from. So, for example, the first assignment I would do is on the First Amendment. And the first thing I would do when you go over the First Amendment with your children is ask them what this word abridging means, right? What is this? Abridge, right? Congress shall not abridge your freedom of speech. And what you have them do is look up the word abridge, and then you talk to them about the importance of language, not just in the Bill of Rights, but in general. When you're reading, when someone's presenting an argument, do you just listen to their argument, or do you force them to define their words? Now, if you were to join the Princeton Debate Club, if you were to join the Harvard debate team, the first thing they would teach you is that when you are in a debate, you have to force your opposition to provide definitions for the words that they use, because if you don't force your opposition to provide a definition, they can, by definition, alter the definition of the word they used previously later on in their argument, and you won't know the difference. You have to say, no, if you used a word, this is how this word is defined, and now every other time you use that word, it has to fall under the same definition. So you are preventing your opposition from bending the argument, right? And one of the reasons people are so easily manipulated through politics is they allow politicians to constantly bend the argument. For example, the word equality. Equality, what is it? Well, when you hear 2 politicians speak, a left-wing politician and a right-wing politician using the word equality are using it in completely different contexts, right? What is your definition of equality? My definition is the same rights encoded in law, underneath the law. Whereas someone from a different worldview would say, no, equality is about outcome. Equality is about everyone getting the same exact outcome, the same amount of money, the same, you guys get it, right? Same word, completely different definition. So you want to have them look up abridge, just like when they look up the Second Amendment, you want to have them look up the word infringed, right? What is this word regulated? What is this word militia? And then here's what the real kicker. If you really want to give them a great education on this stuff, you need to point out that the powers that be actually change the definition of words over time. So if you look up a word from a dictionary in to 2020, it might have a definition than the same word in 1980 or the same word in 1920, in 1776. I want to know what that word meant in 1776, not what it's been changed to mean since then. So you want to point out that the older the dictionary that your children use, the more accurate that definition is, the more beneficial it is to them. So then a fun activity you can do, one of the things I love to do, is anytime I go to an antique store, a farmer's market, I always look for old books and old dictionaries. I want old dictionaries. And specifically, you want to point out to your children that if you can get a Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition or prior, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, there is a much better chance that you will get the accurate definition of historical words. Because after the 5th edition of Black's Law, the powers that be really started bending words, changing the definitions of words. And if words do not have meaning, then sentences don't have meaning, then paragraphs don't have meaning, and they could bend the meaning of whatever it is they want to fit their political agendas of the day. Words have meaning. So when we teach our children the Bill of Rights, we're not only teaching them their rights, but we are teaching them to think critically. We are teaching them the importance of tracking the epistemology of words. One of the things I do with my 4-year-old son is every night when we're reading books, and I love it now because we've gotten to the point where he asks, every time we come across a word that we or he does not know the definition of, we pause our reading and we look up the definition of that word. My God, is that powerful. Words have meaning, and if we do not understand that, we cannot preserve the meaning behind our God-given liberty. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. You know, one of the most interesting facts about that, and it's important. See, this is why children need context. Context. Why is this creator stuff so important? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. Well, when you study the actual history of it, and this is what you want your children to know, is America had broken free from a monarch, right? A king. And that family, the family of King George, had declared a couple of hundred years before that they had a divine right to rule. They had claimed that they had been chosen by the Almighty, and that is why they ruled. So they had claimed that they were God kings, right? So that is why in the Declaration of Independence, they put, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. They are created equal under God. What Thomas Jefferson was saying, that was a message to the king. He was saying that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that your family was not chosen by the Almighty any more than all of us were chosen by the Almighty. He was undercutting their claim at divinity. These words are so important. This history is so important. If we don't know where we come from, how can we figure out where we are going? Go make that left from where? So you want to go over the Bill of Rights, and you want to do it amendment by amendment, once a month, because it's a great refresher. And we're focusing on not just the language, but we want to focus on the process of learning and how we're learning. Everything is about process. People always talk about grades. The school system loves to give out grades. Yeah, you tell little Johnny, you tell that 8th grader that he's a D student. Little Johnny, he only reads at a 5th grade level. And next week, even if he reads at a 6th grade level next week, we're going to tell him he's still a failure. You're telling me little Johnny went up a whole grade level in 1 week, and you're telling him he's a failure? No, Johnny's an A+ student because Johnny had an A+ week. The process is what matters. I don't care about results. Study the greatest football coaches in the world, and football is a great example because it's a team game, because it's a game that is actually beautiful in the way it's structured, in that if all 11 men don't work as a whole, the entire thing falls apart. You can have Tom Brady, but if you're not able to block your way out of a paper bag, if the offensive line can't give Tom Brady 3 seconds, and that might be all he needs, but if they can't give him 3 seconds to stand up in that pocket without a monster pummeling him, then he can't do what he's the best in the world at. And if his receiver doesn't run the right route at the right angle, right? If that receiver puts his foot in the ground and changes direction and runs at a 45-degree angle instead of the 60-degree angle he was supposed to run at, then Tom Brady's pass might be beautiful. It might go where it's supposed to go, but his guy's not there. And what happens? The other team catches the ball. Football's a beautiful game because it involves all 11 men in the field having to accurately, precisely do their job as a whole. And if they don't, the whole thing falls apart. The whole thing falls apart. And when you hear these great coaches, because coaching really has to do with being a leader of men and getting the best out of people, well, we can apply these concepts to our children. And when you study Bill Belichick or Nick Saban, these men who, whether you respect their craft or not, are clearly the best in the world at their craft. You never hear them talk about, you never hear Bill Belichick say, well, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Well, we're going to be in the playoffs. What he says is, we have to have a really good practice session. We have to run really good sprints. We have to really focus on our technique today. Those little things. Because if you keep focusing on those little things, if you just have an A day, an A day, an A day, an A day, and you start stacking up those A days, well, at the end of the year, you're going to be the A team. So Belichick isn't grading his players on, well, I expect you to be the best route runner in the world, to his receiver. He says, no. When we run this one route, I expect you to focus on what you're doing and make sure you're practicing the little things. What is your angle? What angle are you supposed to turn at? Are you supposed to turn at a 45-degree angle or a 60-degree angle? You just ran that route. What angle was it at? Why do we want you to run at the angle? What do you mean, coach? Why do we want you to run at that angle? I need you to stop what you're doing right now and think about, what is your quarterback looking at? Right? Where does your quarterback expect you to be? When does he expect you to be there? After how many seconds? I need you to have an A practice. And at the end of the year, you'll be an A receiver. Johnny's not reading at an 8th grade level. I don't care if Johnny's reading at an 8th grade level. What I care about is, did Johnny focus as we did our reading? Did Johnny not know a word? Stop, practice the right way, and look up the definition of that word. Johnny had an A day, so Johnny is an A student. So, once a month, pick an amendment, First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and go over them. For those in our community, I hope you guys check it out. I spent all day putting this together. I uploaded sheets with each amendment written on them, and then guided questions or extra reading. So each sheet comes with a secondary sheet. So there's a First Amendment sheet and then the First Amendment questionnaire. The Second Amendment sheet, the Second Amendment questionnaire. And it actually guides the child and you as the parent as how to study these amendments over the next 10 months. And of course, for anyone that hasn't taken our course on the Bill of Rights, definitely have your children take that. But they work very well together or independently, and it's something we want to reinforce time and time and time again. And so we want to reinforce time and time and time again. And one of the things I had the privilege of doing was I actually went on Crow 777 Radio about a month ago now, so hopefully they post the episode soon. And because of that, Rose, Crow's wife, actually gave me a ton of documentation that gets into affidavits, notices of liabilities, conditional consents, right? And all of this amazing documentation. And I need to organize it, but as soon as the time's right, I'm actually going to organize it in a way in which our children can really start to understand common law and knowing their rights and what these documents mean, right? An affidavit, for example, when you go to court, if you file an affidavit, that is the record of the matter, right? That is your sworn testimony. And if there is no one willing to contradict your affidavit, then how can the court say that your testimony isn't the record of the matter? You say, Judge, I filed an affidavit. I stated that this is the fact of the matter, and not one person has been willing to come and testify that what I've said is inaccurate. If no one is able to do that, then how can I not win the case right here and now? How can it not be thrown out? These are important concepts, right? Can you create the record of the matter and force them, rather than them forcing you to prove something, can you force them to prove something by getting ahead and establishing the record, the truth of the matter? Conditional acceptance. We need you to get this thing that we need you to get. I'd be happy to get the thing that you need me to get. I'm certain, conditionally, of course, I would first expect you to be able to show me a 20-year study showing that this is safe. I mean, you're asking me to violate my body. Can you show me a 20-year study proving, double-blind study, please? I need to make sure, placebos and everything, that what you're asking me to do is safe. And then, I'd conditionally be willing to accept your offer. Oh, it's, what? Why no response? Why no response? You don't want to put on paper? You don't want to put a record of the matter? Trying to prove that what you're saying is, you keep saying, every time I turn on the commercials, it says, this is safe and don't you see effective. This is safe and don't you see effective. You keep saying that. You keep saying that. But do you want to prove it on paper? Put your mouth where your liability is. And speaking of liabilities, notices of liability. I mean, my God, my employer, you keep telling me that I have to do this. I have to do this thing. I'd be happy to. But, I have this notice of liability here, and I just wanted to make sure you know that shall this go wrong for me in any way, including emotional distress, where that liability is going to fall. These are powerful concepts. Now, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, and we have a long way to go, but these are the type of concepts we can begin to teach the next generation. And how powerful is that? I'm going to go back and read your comments. For anyone interested in what I do, www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected. If you use the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, it is $10 a month. I have to see my classicallearner.com, this app that I'm on. I've reviewed the analytics this week, and they haven't been sending my videos to the 1, 2, 3, 4, you, 5, 6, 7, 8, the for me and you page. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence. I'm going to monitor it this week, or if the another silencing has taken place again. But I'll monitor that situation, and if that's the case, we'll have to move on to alternative options. So we'll see how that goes. I know I'm under a special monitoring, because no matter what I post, all my stuff is delayed. They don't send it out to anyone. First it goes through a special processing situation where it gets monitored. I guess that gets pre-screened by special boys who get to determine if I've been too much of a bad boy before my stuff goes out. So there's that we've been dealing with. They don't like my truths. Oh man, this world. These psychopathic people. But don't worry, because they'll tell you that I'm the bad man. And they're so noble. I got this book at a garage sale this week. Awesome. A really old book. I don't know how old it is, but it seems old. It's a good question. I should look it up. I don't know if it's really old, but it seems old. I'll get the name of it. I actually want to post it on Homeschools Connected. It's really good. It has all these stories like depicting traditional masculine, feminine roles. It's really nice. It's really nice. I read my son a story last night from it where a knight goes on a quest and he comes across a maiden, and the maiden was sacrificing herself to a dragon to save her village, and the knight finds the dragon and he slays the dragon and drags its body back to the village, and the knight, he becomes the king. And my son was just loving the story. And it's really nice to see these books with these traditional roles. Like, our children need that, right? Because everything they see, every time they turn on the screen, all the men they see are super feminine, right? And every time a girl turns around, they're telling her that if she's going to be the best girl she can be, she should really try to achieve masculine goals and desire what masculine traits typically desire, right? Right? They're like, be an engineer, be an engineer, be an engineer. Give all the scholarships to girls for being engineers. Let girls into engineering schools before men. Give girls the jobs at big tech companies before the men to be engineers. And then there's still not nearly as many girl engineers as guys, and then blame society. When in reality, the obvious reason for that is girls just naturally are less inclined to want to be engineers. Less girls want to be engineers. That's why there's less engineers. All of the incentives, all of the hiring, all of the college admittance, all of the scholarship is all aimed at girls being engineers. Yet there's so much less. There's so many more guy engineers. Why is that? Because of the patriarchy? No. Because the feminine nature. It's a nurturing nature. It's why the overwhelming majority of teachers are female. It's not because of the matriarchy not letting men be teachers. It's why an overwhelming amount of people in the medical industry are female. It's not because of the patriarchy. It's because women have a more nurturing nature. They desire to be teachers. They desire to be in the medical field. In spite of society, their entire lives relentlessly pressuring them to go for male fields. But the feminine nature, girls are just less interested in that stuff on an aggregate. That doesn't mean there aren't girls interested in engineering. In fact, there's many phenomenal engineers that are female. But on average, if you put 100 girls in a room and 100 guys in a room, more of those guys are going to want to be engineers than girls, and that's why you see the disparity. In fact, like I said, every single incentive, college admittance, hiring practices, right? All of the propaganda from when they're young telling them what they should be, all push females toward engineering, yet they can't make it happen. And they'll tell you this is because of hatred and isms and patriarchies, right? No, that they're lying. They're doing all of this because they're trying to make girls desire to be masculine, and they're trying to make men desire to be feminine, because when they do that, they're able to break apart what is the traditional family unit, and they're able to gain more control over society. That's why they do this. This is social engineering. But in spite of all their money and all their power and all their social engineering, they just can't get it done. Because you cannot fight the divine feminine nature. You cannot fight the divine masculine nature. I want to raid a village. I suppress that. But I want to raid a village. And you say, that's horrible. What do you mean you want to raid a village? No. You want masculine men. And you think you don't want masculine men until someone tries to raid your village. And then you want masculine men. That's one of the things because I talk a lot about the military-industrial complex and all of the foreign wars that have been started with lies. And people think, oh, so Brett doesn't want a military. No, Brett wants a military. Brett wants a military because I do a lot of historical reading. And you know what all my historical reading has told me? That you are going to get conquered, and you better be ready to fight off the wolves. I love the United States military. Live in a military town. Some of the best people in the world. Military people. Military people. Now, do we need checks and balances? Do we need controls? Do we need to get back to a place where, I don't know, Congress actually has to declare war? Do we need to put more stringent rules so it's very, very difficult to launch a foreign invasion, but very, very easy to defend against a domestic invasion? Yeah, there needs to be serious reforms. Do I think we need to get rid of our military? No, I'm not dumb. I read too much history. You know, America's been at war, I think, it's a ridiculous stat. Almost their entire history of America went at war. And so all those wars are bad. No. Talked about Thomas Jefferson, right? America's first war, the barbarism wars. American sailors were going overseas, and all of our ships kept getting murked. England, France, pirates, all of our ships keep getting murked. So what do? We sent the Navy across the world to protect our ships. Right? People think there's only been 2 world wars. Why? Because they call them World War I and World War II? What do you think the Napoleonic Wars were? They just named them after their boogeyman, the bad man, Napoleon. It was all of Europe, all of Asia, all of North America. Right? People hear the French and Indian War, the French and Indian War. The French and Indian War... I'm sorry, that was part of the 7-Year War, which was like a prelude to the Napoleonic Wars. Literally all over the world, the entire history of the world, every civilization, wars. People like to talk about the people that were in America before the Europeans got here. There's such victims. Oh yeah? You ever heard of the Beaver Wars? You ever saw who the Iroquois tribes were fighting against? The entire history of humanity is war. And the reason they're trying to make your men... feminine... Lost connection. Am I back? And the reason they're trying to make your men feminine is because they've been waging covert, subversive wars against you. Softening up that underbelly, getting America away from morality. Which is why you know whatable. I gotta be careful when you talk about these things, but sexual. You talk about these things, you heard the word. Perversions are the greatest threat to America. It's why America needs to reject these perversions at every turn. It's why I tell people they shouldn't engage in that until they are married. Oh, that's so prude, such a prude, such a prude. Where does it stop? Where does it start and where does it stop? Because as soon as you allow the perversions, right, it ends up with them teaching their children what in school? People used to know this. They used to know this. I've been watching videos from the 1800s, early 1900s. You could just see how much better society was. These were high trust societies. So I say, people used to just let their children play. Yeah, you can see why. Go watch. You'll see. Sexual liberation. And the result, the direct destruction of the family unit and the permittance of exposing the youth to that. You cannot allow it and prevent the youth from being exposed to it. Because once you allow it, how can you stop a 100-foot tall billboard of Kim Kardashian grabbing her you-know-what from being put in the middle of Times Square? How can you stop it? First they break down morality, then they break down culture, and then they get the politics they want. And then they train all of us to scream about the politics. Scream about the politics. But if you talk about changing the culture, people say, how dare you? And if you talk about restoring the morality, say, what are you, a churchian? No, I'm not. But I'm into reality. You break down morality, you break down culture, you break down politics. And that's the way the world functions. And that's how they took over your country. And that's how they target your children. So unless you want them to stop, if you really want them to start targeting your children, you have to reject sexual liberation. Reject feminism. Reject the feminization of men. Reject the masculinization of women. Reject the destruction of the family unit. Reject sex before marriage. See, people don't want to hear about that stuff. They don't want to hear about that stuff. Because that's the stuff that actually makes change. That's the stuff that they spent so much money, time, and effort getting people to accept. And everyone wants their lollipops and everyone wants their fancy pants. And people like to talk about how they're against the system, as they're hopelessly dependent on the system. As they're not willing to do the things, the painful things that are necessary to build a better system. Great work, bro. I wish I had more time to watch. Love this idea. We came to church. No, I'm not church, but I am insightful. That's what they told my son. He reads at a first grade level and he's a fifth grader. So what you do is set aside an hour each day and let him read first grade material that he enjoys. And then once he starts to get that, once he starts to master that, let him read second grade material that he enjoys at his pace. It's like lifting weights. And you wouldn't take someone who could lift 135 pounds, put 235 pounds on a bench press and say, lift that up. Because when they pick it up, they would drop it on their chest and probably die, right? You would say you're going to lift 135 pounds because that's what you're able to lift. And then tomorrow, maybe we'll lift 140 pounds. And the day after that, maybe we'll try 150 pounds or 145 pounds. Increment, 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 increment. Give me that A day. I don't use a grade system. It's the grades. The kid, yeah, I don't like grades at all. My son would call himself dumb. That's ridiculous. Get that out of his vernacular. Give him small, he feels dumb. Give him small victory after small victory and let him start to feel smart. And he will. What ages are you programmed for? All ages. We don't cover everything, but what we do cover is very valuable and very different than most things out there. Adults, because I'm learning also. Yeah, our nature unit study is awesome. We make it for children of all ages. Like, obviously, a 4-year-old, you might need to modify it slightly, but you can really do everything, and great skill development. I don't get notified anymore like I was in the beginning. Yeah, there's been some grappling, but it is what it is. It is what it is. They don't want my truths out there. Can't handle my truths. I've gotten to the point now in my business where the marketing isn't as important, which I'm sure you guys have all noticed. I've been ramping out material. Like, we could do this word of mouth. Like, I'll grow it word of mouth now. I have an army of parents who see what we're building and believe in what we're building. Spread the word. Like, they're gonna, I can't help the powers that be silencing me. It is what it is. But we could spread the word. And, like, the best thing is, like, as I grow it, I just wait till you see what it becomes. Just wait. We're at the infancy. But I've got to the point where, and also, I have a secondary platform that's been very valuable, the Gram. So that has been huge for me. I also created a second Gram page at Homeschools Connected. Everyone check that out. I need to grow that one as a hedge. But yeah, we're doing very positive things, and we can grow at grassroots now. So I don't even care that much about the marketing. I almost find the marketing to be tedious and annoying now. Being a housewife and stay-at-home mom is the most powerful and amazing thing ever. Yeah, well, you get the best moments of your family's life. Like, I was looking back at pictures of Brady the other day from when he was 1 year old, and I was looking at it, I was like, wow, he'll never be one again. I'll never get to hold my 1-year-old son again, ever. Those moments are so special. And people give them up because they want to go work for a corporate boss. Like, I've structured my whole life since my son's been born, since I've been working from home. When I had my job, I got it. I did what I had to do, and I got it so I could work from home 4 or 5 days a week. That's when I was employed, before I was doing my business thing. I don't want to miss those moments. Tapping as fast as I can. Thank you. Yeah, people have been fighting forever. Yeah, never think we don't need to be strong. Like, spend a week, just a week, like, go back through Wikipedia and just read basic historical stuff about every period and every age. You'll be like, holy crap, the entire history of the world is just people conquering and killing. It's like the whole history of the world. And then you'd be like, oh, you think we don't need a strong army? Keep telling yourself that. And like people like think they understand horror. Like, you want horror? Man, like you think what your government does to you? Like, how do you think the people in Libya feel when a foreign country invades? Like, how do you think the people in Iraq feel when a foreign country invades? Like, horror. And there's drones blowing up your neighbor's house. Like, horror. You don't want that. Gotta be strong. Higher likes and shares get him on other people's TikTok pages so he can grow. Yeah, I always forget. I should tell you guys to do that more. But like, smash the like button, share, do that whole thing. Love your content. Best influencer I found. Thank you. Appreciate that. Happy to have you here. I was going live every day at 9:30, but because I've adjusted what I'm doing, like I'm really ramping up curriculum development. So what I've been doing now is I've been staying up late at night now again. My schedule is always, and by late, I mean some nights I've been pushing to like 1:15 a.m. And like last night, I was up making the Bill of Rights challenge for the next 10 months. Came out great. 21 pages of stuff I put together yesterday. And you think about that. 21 pages of stuff. So I pretty much finished that at like 1:15 in the morning, 1 in the morning. And then I slept for 6 hours on the dot, as I do every day. Woke up, finished that, got it out to the community. Then I made 2 videos for the day, and then I jumped on the live. So my lives have been kind of sporadic, but I want to get the curriculum out, and I want to get the videos out, so it is what it is. Like, obviously, it would be better if I did it every day at 9:30. It would be better for building an audience, but it is what it is. So, like, social media growth and stuff like that, consistency is so important. People are like, oh, I can't grow. Have you been consistent? Have you done the same thing every day at the same time for a year straight? You'll grow. And it's the same with the live streams, but I have to balance everything, and I just want to get out. Like I said, at this point, I've moved on where like the marketing has become secondary, which is where I wanted to get. And my curriculum development is we're ramping up, baby. We're ramping up. And then wait till I get to the point where I can start hiring developers with me, because it is on like Donkey Kong. Like, the people who have been in my community for a while, they understand it and they see where we're going with this. Like, over the next 5 years, what we are going to do for our children's education is going to be truly remarkable. We're going to build it step by step. I've had opportunities where I've had calls from investors, stuff like that. I have decided against that. I'm building from the grassroots, step by step by step. We're going to get to a point soon where we can get curriculum developers in with me, handpicked by me, people that I handpick and approach. I have my eyes on some people. We're going to do amazing things. There's going to be a process. There's going to be a point where we get our own servers. I am going to bring in a web designer, and we're going to get everything protected. And we're going to get to a point where just wait to where it's going. Just wait. My favorite thing to do is market, and I want everyone to know about Homeschools Connected. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, guys, grassroots. Like, I need you guys. Ask not what Homeschools Connected can do for you, but what you can do for Homeschools Connected. Grassroots marketing now, like especially this month, because this is a big month. We just need to grow. Do it at the pace it has to happen. Like, too much growth too fast isn't good. I'm happy with the pace we've grown, right? It started with it was a community. Then I added a live course and the nature unit study, and we grew a little bit. Actually, our percentage growth this year has been, I don't know the exact math on it, but we've grown by hundreds of percent this year. Maybe thousands of percentages points we've grown this year in terms of membership, which is remarkable, which is amazing. But still within relative from starting it at scratch. So, then we added a live course, we added another live course, right? Now we started doing the ramp up of the curriculum development, and step by step growth is allowing me to serve all of you in a way that I can keep up with it and is appropriate and is good. And incremental step-by-step growth. I don't want to grow too fast, just the right pace. And right now, I'm trying to ramp. The marketing has taken a second-hand seat to the development of the curriculum itself. And if you guys help with the grassroots marketing, that's just going to allow me to put back in to Homeschools Connected, and we're just going to grow and grow and grow, and we're going to look up in a few years, and it's going to be crazy what we've done. You guys buy your gold yet? Always a good idea to buy gold, although you might want to look into silver because it's more affordable. Just tell me how to do it, and we will get that outreach. Thank you. Love this group. Yes, we have curriculum for 7th grade. Again, I don't cover everything yet. This is our first year of development, but like our year-long nature unit study is truly phenomenal. Like, and I don't just say it because me and my wife made it. It really is phenomenal. Like, we're talking about constructing garden boxes, building greenhouses, making fertilizer out of egg and banana, like learning how to sell stuff on Etsy. Really cool stuff. We have our propaganda class, which is great for a 7th grader. The Bill of Rights course is great for a 7th grader. The media course is appropriate for a 7th grader. Our science curriculum, our STEM curriculum, our construction curriculum. So we have a lot going on, and it's great for that age range. Yes, I've been doing that so he feels more comfortable. Right, you want to go at your child's pace. So if he's reading at that 1st grade level, I don't care that he's in 5th grade. That doesn't mean anything. So what does that mean, right? Like, focus every day, 1 hour, reading that he enjoys, that he's comfortable with. You could, if you really want to focus on that reading, do a 2nd hour where you do family reading. So maybe you all sit around Indian style, and do, you read, then your child reads, then dad reads, whatever, and just make reading fun, make him enjoy it. Don't worry about what the Department of Indoctrination says he's supposed to be. It just jumped. Cubs to Bears books are so eye-opening. Just received all 7 books. Is curriculum for the police officer story? The police officer story? Which one is that? I promote you everywhere to everyone who listens still today. I love it, Melissa. Thank you. Pay to advertise. I thought about it. I don't know. I think my grassroots is more powerful. This is what I need. I'm putting this in my homeschool planning this year. I took off the summer, laugh out loud. No, don't. I think people should take off the summer. Like, Nicole and I have been a lot more laissez-faire this summer. And I actually told Brady come September, we're starting school again. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a big formal ceremony, like a rite of passage, and we're going to, have a first day of school, and we're going to ramp up our activities. I'm new to your live. What do you do? Controversy. No, I run a homeschool company that I started myself, and we make original curriculum. I teach courses for it, and we are building something that I think is making a difference I know is making a difference in the world already, and we're going to continue to make a bigger and bigger impact. Just for advertising purposes, I found you in a homeschool Facebook group a mom sent here. Yeah, that's what's been really cool is I've been getting that a lot where people are finding me in ways that aren't through me. And that's a very powerful thing. Word of mouth is the most powerful marketing. Hey, darling. Nicole had something to say, but she forgot. It's in there. I'll be done soon, babe. Nicole says, hello. The Bill of Rights Challenge is phenomenal. We start this week. Thanks, Jen. I worked really hard on that yesterday. I did that whole thing yesterday. But do one a month because we want it to be like a refresher each month. We study this, and it's cool because you could do it for like literally 20 minutes is all you need. I kind of guide what the conversations will be. Some weeks are simpler than the others. Like for the Quartering Act, it's like, basically government officials aren't allowed to force their way to sleep in your house, right? Or to be quartered in your house. And then the page that I put under it is just, during the American colonial times, the British government forced the colonists to have British soldiers sleep in their house. And then just an open-ended question with that in mind, with that context, what is the importance of property rights? What are the importance of property rights? And just have an open conversation about it. So, like, some of them don't have to be complex. Like the First and Second Amendment, I really love it because we could get into the dictionary definitions and stuff like that. And like, there's so much we can do with it. With the 10th Amendment, you could look up the word Can I pronounce the word? The enumeration. I can't even pronounce it. But the point is, you could look up the word, and you could get your children to, right? It gets into the process of learning, and that's very powerful. Right, with like the Fourth Amendment, you can do fun stuff where you pretend you're the police officer. By the way, I want to do more courses on. I think I'm going to do a whole thing on teaching children the proper way to respond when stopped by police officers, which is so important. I remember I was 18 years old, and I went out to a club or whatever we're going to call it, but a club with my friends. And I wasn't drinking that night, ironically. Now, give it, at that time in my life, that was by chance, because I pretty much was every time we went out. But I wasn't that night, just by chance. Anyway, so we are walking from the car to the club. And we're just walking, laughing, and my friend handed me his beer. This is why it was kind of funny. My friend handed me his beer. He's like, "Can you hold this for a second?" So I held the beer, and my friend went to pee. And when he came back, right as he's coming back, police officer stopped us, and I had the beer in my hand and whatnot. So they're gonna write us a ticket, whatever. So I was sitting on the curb with my friend Louis, and he was kind of laughing at me. He was like, "Thanks for getting a ticket for my beer," and the two of us were laughing. You know, like whatever, it is what it is. It's dumb luck. But so we were laughing about it. So this police officer came over, got down in my face, and started yelling at me at the top of his lungs. And he was like, "You laughing, boy? What are you like?" And by the way, he was of different color than me, which is another interesting tidbit to the story, right? Ironic, but so he was literally in my face, like face to face, screaming at me, calling me a boy, telling me, "Say something, boy. Say one thing, boy." Right? Like trying to provoke me to do something. And I was smart enough. Where at the time I just got my head down and said, "My apologies, sir." Right? But there are a lot of people that would have responded to that provocation. He was trying to provoke me to do something dumb so that he could get me into real trouble because he didn't like that I was laughing, right? Now, I'm an adult now, and if he did that, I would have handled that very differently. In fact, he would have wound up in trouble for it. But that's neither here nor there. So he was trying to provoke me to do something dumb, and if I would have done it, you know, he could have got me in trouble. And life experiences like that have taught me that it's very important, right? And that's why like people are like, "Oh, all police officers are good." I'm like, "No, they're not." Like I've met some really shitty ones. Like that, you should have been fired for that, right? Like I have every First Amendment right to sit there with my friend and laugh, right? That's your precious little ego, right? Oh, you're laughing, right? It gave me a lot of insights. Like also like from another perspective of when a police officer is abusive of that power and they look differently than you, like that could be very intimidating. Like that gave me perspective. I was like, okay, right? So like, but either way, it taught me that you really have to teach your children how to respond in these situations. Like, what do you do when a police officer pulls you over? What preparations do you take? Where are your hands? What do you say? What do you have a right to say? What do you have a right not to say? How do you make the police officer understand that you know your rights, and that if they step out of line, you understand how to hold them accountable, right? Right, but how do you do that while remaining in honor, remaining respectful? So these are things that, you know, to me as a parent, I want my children to understand, right? You know, you get these segments of the population who are like, "Oh, the police brutality," and then you see people getting pulled over, and you're like, were you dropped? Like, you're asking for trouble with the way you're responding. Like, I understand, like, even if they might be wrong, you have to understand the power dynamics within the situation and position yourself so that you're protected. And like, when these guys are, the police officers are like, show me your hands, and you're like, blah, 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 like, you know, don't complain about what happens. You're an idiot, you know? So anyway, I want to put together a course where we really start to teach children how to do it. I really want to talk to my common law friends because I want to not only teach like how to respond, but how to make sure that you're shifting the liability away from yourself and onto the officer so that they know it would be a really bad idea to get in your face and call you a boy 20 times, an inch away from your face, screaming at you, right? But if I would have done one thing, what would the story have been, right? So I was smart enough not to do it at the time because my parents had taught me from the time I was young that if you get stopped by a police officer, this is what my dad taught me, my parents taught me, you always do exactly what they say, and if there's a problem, we'll deal with it after, but you're only going to create problems by not doing what they say. And that's the extent of which my father had taught me, right? So that's what I did. Now, you know, looking back, could I have handled that differently? you better believe it, right? Looking back, had that happened like to grown man me, I would have taken steps and taken action and tried to get that guy fired and get him in trouble. But you could only do that if you carry yourself in honor. So, homie ain't no sellout. Try not to be. I love this. Can't wait to start using your community in a year or two. I would love to do a live stream and not as eloquently spoken as you. Admiration. Ha ha! Oh, don't tell me it cut out. All right, I got to do that when it's not cut out. Come on. I can't pronounce enumeration, so you are probably more elegant than I am. Oh, look at me. I pronounced enumeration. It came back to me, people. It came back to me. Enumeration, enumeration. I could pronounce enumeration. I remember the first time I made a video on the internet many years ago. I realized for the first time in my life that I didn't know how to pronounce the word anonymous. Practice makes perfect. Life is beautiful and the future is bright. Say it louder for the ones in the back, Melissa. I'm nowhere close to being able to help with that. I learn from others, but I donate. Thank you very much. Sharing him on my Facebook blog. Can we work on a secret handshake? I'm down with it. Illuminati confirmed. Yeah, one of the pet projects I've been wanting to do, I just haven't had the time, is to gather all documents of the presidents writing about the Illuminati, and then have that be an assignment just so children know from a young age, like middle school, high school, that the Illuminati are a real thing. And then as they get older, they could look more into that. You know, it's so funny because you get these people and are like, you idiots, you think the Illuminati are a real thing? It's like, oh, God, do you know how many presidents have in their writings talking about the Illuminati? Like, people are just lost. Now, to what capacity do they still exist? To what power? You could debate that, but like to debate they're a real thing, it's like, do you have any thinking capacity? I struggle with math and science for my 9th grader. If you're struggling, you can use a program like Time for Learning, which is internet-based, and it only moves on when they reach a certain level of mastery. So there's many ways you can do it, or you could find someone in your life that would be willing to do it with your 9th grader. But you also want to let them do independent work a lot. So like, you know, if a lot of what they're doing is independent work, you might not necessarily have to be proficient at math and science. Applied math worked for my son. Playing pool, building things. By the way, Netty Games, that flat earth replica table you made was awesome. That thing was... I would love if you like... I know you gave me like a little bit of the specs, but like a real step-by-step of how you did that. There's a lot of people that would be interested in doing a project like that. I don't think you need to pay to advertise. Moms are sharing you everywhere. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, with my homeschooling, I mean, we don't stop homeschooling, but we're a little less formal in the summer months. Your 3-year-old, a lot of anything with fine motor activities, strengthen their fingers, any pre-writing, lots of artwork, um, working on their letters, music, maybe the Prodigy's music program or the Piano K music program, science experiments, a lot of fun science experiments for kids. We release a lot of those, by the way. Yeah, we'll be throwing game ideas at Netty Games. Yeah, Netty Games, none of us believe that you're not creative. You're like the most creative person ever. We like your humility, though. Yeah, the CIA bugs are coming for me every day. Am I the only one who taunts the Illuminati through my phone? That's hilarious. I love it. How do I get your curriculum? www.classicallearner.com. Go to Homeschools Connected. And when you join, use the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, and it is $10 a month. I have 2 more round tables here to do. I'll take step-by-step picks and share. That's awesome. Thank you. I think a lot of people will really appreciate that. Netty's going to get Etsy rich with tables. I love it. All right. I have caught up to the comments, and I'm starving because I did not eat breakfast, although I did have a banana. All right. www.classicallearner.com. Thank you for the hat and mustache and the nickels. Classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected. That's a big wasp. Discount. Oh, see? CIA bugs. Discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, $10 a month. And yeah, that's what's up. I am now going to. I'm pretty much out of water, but sip us for 1 second. Now I'm out. Count to 10 to account for the delay. And then I must get on with my day. I am hungry. I need to eat. I know I'm hungry because as I've been sitting here, I've been thinking like, I get Nicole. Tell her we want to go to the Mexican restaurant, get a burrito. And like as soon as I start thinking about going to a restaurant to get a burrito, I'm spiraling, like starving. I'm like, yeah, I gotta get a burrito, some guacamole, and some chips. That's how you know I'm hungry. All right, guys.